Welcome back to Getting Caught Up. I can't believe it, but this is the first episode of the fifth season of this podcast, and I'm very excited about it. But before I introduce the guest, just a quick update on the background here. You might notice a slight change back there. Well, some viewer ripped into me in the comments for leaning the small acoustic guitar up against the wall and said I was destroying the guitar by doing that and that it should be in a stand. I had no idea, and I have a stand, so now it's on the back side of the stand with the electric guitar. Incidentally, that's the same guitar I used to play the little intro theme music for the podcast. So, 0 hoots given, 129. I hope you feel seen and heard. I made that change just because of you. Okay, now on to the episode. I had a chance to talk with Aaron Rouselle in this episode. Aaron is 40 years old, a freshman in college, and is playing this spring on his college baseball team. He's actually a freshman for a second time. Aaron went to college years ago and played basketball. Now he's back in college pursuing a degree in psychology. And since he played basketball during his first 4-year stint in college, he still has all of his baseball eligibility. So he went out for and made the DCC Phantoms team. And spring 2025 will be his first official season with the team after playing fall ball in late 2024. So we talked all about making the team, playing, navigating student athlete eligibility, and trying to keep up with and compete against guys who are half his age, if that. As impressive as it is for this 40-year-old freshman to be competing with 18, 19, and 20-year-olds, that is just half the story. And it really pales in comparison to what Aaron had to overcome in life just to make it to this point. About 10 years ago, Aaron was faced with monumental health challenges. He was diagnosed with cancer at the age of 30. Very shortly after that, he suffered liver failure and was the recipient of a liver transplant. We discussed in depth the incredible highs and lows he went through. This is one of the most candid and raw discussions I've ever had on this podcast. You'll see what I mean about 30 minutes into the conversation as Aaron explains the toll these twin health issues took on his body. He also goes into detail about multiple out-of-body experiences he said he had and how he spoke to God, and that God gave him a choice to die or to come back and live his life out on earth. He said this experience helped inspire the nonprofit he later founded called Pop's Culture. I'm telling you, his story is an amazing one. And Aaron's comeback was amazing. Within 2 years of beating cancer and receiving the liver transplant, he was part of the Team USA basketball squad at the 2017 World Transplant Games in Spain. The team won the gold medal, and he took home several more medals competing in other sports. But 5 years after undergoing the liver transplant, Aaron was forced to undergo yet another liver transplant, once again bringing him close to death. But Aaron, as you'll see, has a remarkable will to live, and he talked about the risk he took to prolong his life. His roster spot on the Phantoms is the culmination of that second comeback. Quick reminder, please give this episode a like, comment, or share to help with its visibility so I can keep bringing you conversations with interesting people like Aaron. We also touched on how his difficult road in life has impacted his faith and the work he does through Pop's Culture, mentoring youth athletes. It was a very eye-opening conversation, and I hope you enjoy it. So here he is, Aaron Rouselle. Aaron Rouselle, welcome to the podcast. It's great to have you.
Thank you so much for having me. It's truly an honor, like blessed for the opportunity.
Oh, please. It's great to talk to you. I feel like there should be a movie made about your life. I feel like there could be. Call it the 40-year-old freshman. You're about to play freshman baseball, or not? I guess or freshman. You're about to play junior college baseball, right? Is it? And you're a freshman.
Yeah, based from the baseball world, I'm a freshman. I have a degree, but in the terms of baseball, I am a freshman.
Right. So you went to college years ago, got a degree, and now you're back. So this is almost like two movies. It's like Back to School meets The Rookie or something, right?
Yeah, we can spin it all kinds of ways and maybe even create a series off of it. It's because it's the story's still being written.
Yeah, yeah, it's awesome. So, I mean, look, I want to talk to you about, first of all, just how you ended up making the team. I mean, look, you're 40 years old. That's not, I'm 49, so I could say this. That's not that young, and you're playing with what, 18, 19, 20-year-olds?
Sure.
How did it go to make the team? Did you have to try out? Did you play? How'd that all work?
Um, So there is a tryout process. And I was able, but it wasn't. This is weird to say, but it wasn't that hard.
Yeah.
But it's only because I'm very confident in my abilities. I'm not the best player on the team, but I do my best. And I've known Coach Hunter for a few years, so he gave me every opportunity to perform. And as long as you're able to pass the tests, you'll make the team. But then the playing time is entirely up to your efforts and ability. So I'm on the team. I played in the fall. I actually got my first collegiate hit in the fall.
Nice.
The first game at third base, did pretty well, but then I got pneumonia right afterwards and missed the rest of the fall. So
So just one game you played in the fall, is that right
game
then?
was the fall, and I missed
Oh my God.
I believe. Yeah, but it's like I said, the pneumonia makes it really hard to just be active, and the fall wasn't the main objective. The main objective was being healthy for the spring. So,
Right.
through talks with my doctors and Coach Hunter, I stayed in communication with the team, but I kind of separated myself a little bit. I went to the practice as much as I could and could handle. But as long as I stayed in communication and kept him notified, he kept my roster spot. I had to continue my course and pass my classes. So I checked all the boxes, and now we start practice today.
Our first practice is today. How about that? So, I guess I want to know what made you think that you could do this at this age, and then also what made you realize it was possible to do it? Like a lot of people, if you've gone to college already, might just think I don't even have eligibility. Like, how did you figure that out? Did somebody tell you? How'd that come about?
Um, I'm a bit delusional. With my confidence. That's why I'm playing and why I thought I could play. But I think that helps. But I also am very familiar with the college process because I mentor a lot of kids with it. And I also coached JUCO softball for a couple seasons, so I knew the process very well, and I know JUCO has a lot of different rules and situations to where you can do things. And I also did my research. I looked up like I'm not the first old guy to come back and play college sports.
Oh, no?
So it's just from, doing the research, figuring things out. And at times, like there's times where, athletic directors would tell me that I can't do something or it has to be this, but like knowing the rules, I could go back and, with all due respect, sir, like I'm not trying to tell you how to do your job, but if you look at this, this is how I can do it.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, and thankfully they were very open to my diligence, I guess is the way to put it,
Mhm.
to making sure that I was able to have the opportunity because I really want this. And not just for myself. It's like I want to prove to myself that I can still compete, but at the same time, I mentor a lot of kids through my nonprofit. And I don't ever want to be that coach or that guy who says, back in my day, I did this, 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 and this. I'm alive, I'm breathing, I'm capable. So why not? Lead by example is what it's on my LinkedIn profile in the heading. So what better way to lead than, not just, use my voice and say, hey, come this way. I'm going back through the fire and now essentially I've laid stepping stones to help guide these kids through the process and I'm in it with them.
Yeah.
Last night I had 15 kids at my facility and I told them straight up, guys, like I'm not here to hold your hand because I have my own personal baseball goals that I need to train for. I was like, I'll help you. I was like, but if you're not here to work, like get out of my way because I'm here to work. And they really respect that because it's not, dad, coach, or just some old guy barking out orders telling them what to do. It's like, hey man, we got to do this. Like, because, we're essentially on the same goal path. Like, they all want to get drafted. I mean, so do I,
Yeah.
since I'm not happening at 40, but, who's to say I don't hit 500 and make crazy plays and end up drafted? But clearly, like, that's not in the cards because I don't have I would probably turn it down because I just don't have that push, but I have enough in me to compete at a JUCO level.
Yeah. So just to go back for a second, essentially the eligibility thing was you actually knew the rules better than some of the administrators, and I guess it was kind of news to them that you could do this and pull it off, right?
Yeah, it's because I played JUCO basketball,
Okay.
but my basketball eligibility does nothing with my baseball eligibility. Um, so and they also didn't know like with the age thing and like the gaps and I've already had a ton of full-time semesters. There's so many different things that come into place. But I was very well aware of it, so I knew how to navigate it to where I could be eligible. And obviously, with a degree and everything there, and like even trying to get my high school transcripts, I graduated high school in 2003.
Oh my
My
God.
transcript was on stone and chiseled in some of their eyes. So they just kind of like, it's just, it was extra work.
Yeah.
It wasn't work I was putting on them. I was going to do it all because at the same time, it's their job to do it for me, but I'm also capable of doing it for myself. And like anytime you have an opportunity to make somebody's life easier, why not? So I
Yep.
did what I had to do, and also was like, hey, like respectfully, like I'll do this, but you have to give me an opportunity, and they did, and I'm very blessed. Like Delaware County Community College has been nothing but helpful for me throughout this whole process because they could have just been like no, but
Yeah.
they weren't, and I appreciate that.
Yeah. And I saw they put up a huge thing on Facebook, a big announcement about you playing and a great shot of you like holding a bat, I think, right over your shoulder.
Yeah, yeah, they
And
and it's in the
oh
world
no,
we
you're
live.
in a glove. You got it, your glove.
Yeah, and what's
Actually,
weird because everyone thinks I'm a pitcher. I'm not a pitcher. I mean, I could throw BP all day long, but if I had to pitch in a game, you better be a really good defense behind me because they're going to hit it.
so look, that's an amazing feat, right? Just to navigate all that stuff and figure out the whole eligibility aspect of things. But what we haven't even really talked about yet is, you're not just the average 40-year-old guy. I think this would be very hard for even an average 40-year-old guy to pull off, right? But you've had health challenges that most people have not had to experience, and so you're doing all this after that. You beat cancer at a pretty young age, and then you've gone on to have two liver transplants, and and now have recovered from that completely and are able to do this.
Yeah, I'm pretty blessed. Let's see, I had cancer in 2015, first transplant in 2015, second transplant in 2020, and through all that, I also have neuropathy in my left leg, so I can't really like in my left leg. If I'm taking my lead on first, that's my push leg.
Yeah,
Sometimes when I push, it doesn't have the strength to hold me up, so I fall right over. Um, but I've learned you fall down, you get back up. So I don't really look at my struggles as anything besides a way for me to just be stronger. And obviously, my physical is lacking because of them, but my mental's so much stronger. And that's kind of the way I approach baseball is like you don't have to be the most physically gifted person to do well at baseball. If your mind's sharp, you can still create opportunities for yourself and your team. And that's kind of where I'm at now is like I may not always, even be actively in a game physically, but mentally, I'll see things that these younger players don't see.
yeah,
So my value is increased through the mental side, whereas decreased on the physical side. Um, and I think that's what also helps create opportunities for me. And so I don't look at my health struggles as a setback. It's almost like a really strong foundation for me to build off of because it not only did it show me how precious this life is, it showed me how important it is to be mentally and emotionally tough just as much as you are physically, which has catapulted my ability at baseball because I mean, baseball is a mental game. It's about failure. And I mean, my liver failed. A lot of things in my life have failed me, but my mind hasn't yet anyway.
yeah,
And that's kind of the approach I bring to baseball.
yeah. That's amazing. And so what is it like playing with these guys, these young guys? I mean, there's some of them are not even half your age. Uh, I mean, you've got a lot of coaching experience, so maybe it doesn't feel that unusual to be around them. I mean, you've coached obviously way younger kids, right? But you're actually playing with these guys too. How's that camaraderie?
It was a little awkward at first because, like you said, I'm 20 years older than them. I don't talk about the things they talk about. I don't do the things they do. One of my biggest fears was them asking me to buy them beer because they can't do that,
Yeah,
and I wouldn't do that. Which could really create an awkward dynamic because like they're like, "Oh, come on, Aaron, like buy us beer. Like, don't you want to be cool?" No, I don't. I have
Yeah.
no interest in being cool. But thankfully they didn't ask. But it was awkward at first because I didn't know how they were going to perceive me, because they didn't know me. And then when they found out I was 40, I got a lot of weird looks. But I showed up, I put in the work, I did what I could when I could, and I was always transparent and open about everything that I was dealing with them. And now it's gotten to the point they've on the during the off season where between fall and spring, a lot of the team would come to my facility an hour away to train, but not just train, to really just like they're so respectful of me, and they really look to me for guidance, and that's kind of like the beauty of it is I get to mentor these teammates of mine who aren't necessarily peers, but at the same time, in the terms of baseball, we're equals. And though I can't do what they can do physically, they can't do what I can do mentally. So it's created a really cool dynamic and balance to where I'm able to help them grow as people and ball players, but they also help me, just feel young again. And they're such a good group of guys because they'll crack jokes with me, but it's never malicious. They just really have like welcomed me as if I'm one of them, even though the only thing that we have in common in baseball is baseball. But it also just speaks volumes on the power of the game of baseball and how it really can, unite people that have like nothing in common besides baseball.
Yeah, it kind of bridges the generation, I guess. So is it true you have a nickname among these kids? They call you Uncle Aaron?
Uncle Aaron. Yeah, it's which is I mean, I love it. I'm here for it. It's better than being grandpa. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, they call me Uncle Aaron. I welcome it with open arms because to me that's signifying that I'm family.
Yeah, yeah, that's cool. It's great to hear that they've been welcoming to you. And I totally can get it. That it would be a little awkward at first. Like I'm trying to put myself back in like my 18-year-old shoes. I don't know what I would think. Like I think 40-year-old people at that point were so old. Now I think like no, we're actually pretty young. But you look great, by the way, for your age.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, thank you. Till I take my hat off and you see my hairline.
I'm trying to hang on to my hair a little bit, but it's I think it would be totally natural for it to be a little awkward at first, but sounds like you guys are developing a rapport, and that's great.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's like especially like in the fall when I missed all that time from having pneumonia. I didn't see them for about a month, and we had to sign some paperwork. And I walked into the room they were already in, and you would have thought I was a celebrity because they were all so welcoming and so excited to see me. And that's when I was like, okay, like I belong here. Like this isn't
Yeah,
awkward at all anymore. Like they miss me. And that meant a lot to me. And that it just means, because I get frustrated because I want to be at everything. I want to show up. I want to do everything with them. But at the same time, I have to be realistic with my health, and I have to understand like there's going to be days where I just can't go. And if I try to push through that, I'm going to land myself in the hospital and I'll miss more than a day. I'll miss a week. I'll miss a month.
yeah,
Um, and they're so understanding of that, especially Coach Hunter. He's instrumental to this whole process, and it speaks volumes on the type of man he is and type of coach is. He's going to go out of his way and go above and beyond for any of his players, even if his player is only a year younger than him. And that means a lot to me.
is that right? So your coach is 1 year older than you?
Sir.
How about that? Now I wonder if he is like envious of you at all. Like I wonder if he looks at you and is like, I'm assuming he must have played at some level in his past,
Yeah, I
right?
believe he played at the University of Maryland Eastern Shore. He's a heck of a ball player. I think he still plays in adult leagues.
Oh yeah,
I've never asked him if he, wishes he could still play and compete. But I will.
yeah,
But he really like I mean he came to my birthday party a couple
yeah,
weeks ago and he didn't know anyone but me. But he stayed and hung out, and that really just speaks volumes on the dynamics of our relationships to where we can be friends, but when it comes to baseball things, I'm player, he's coach. And that really speaks volumes on the type of man that he is that the boundaries are clear cut and set.
yeah.
And he knows like he keeps it very in tune and in line to where I'm held to the same standard. But at the same time, when it's not baseball time, we talk about things as if we're friends and peers because in this life we are. But in baseball, it's player and coach, and it's a beautiful dynamic.
That's an interesting dynamic for sure. Uh, I want to ask you. So you played third base in that game. To me, that suggests you've got a pretty good arm. You
Yeah.
said you can't pitch, but I mean, usually third base, shortstop, they've got a good arm because you got to throw across the infield. How was it playing third? Is that what you always played, or are you sort of?
Uh, Originally, I'm an outfielder, but I can't run like I used to with my leg issues. And I like second because it gives me a little more time. But I've noticed with third, it's a good thing I don't have as much time because I just react.
Yeah,
I don't think. And I think that's a lot of issues with baseball is you got to know when to think and when not to think and trust yourself. And at third, I can react. Shortstop throws me for a loop sometimes because I have time to think, but I also have to react quick. Third's all reaction instincts. So I love it, and I do, and I like from playing football for so many years and not being a pitcher and taking a 20-year break from baseball. I got a lot of life left in this arm, so I can make the plays and easily just chuck it across the diamond, usually fairly accurately because I mean I'm still an athlete.
yeah,
And I play a lot and I throw a ton of BP, so my arm's just there. And I I there's nothing I love more in baseball than making a play in the field. Like I remember back to that fall game, there was a pop fly hit behind third base, barely fair. I mean, and I Willie Mays dove backwards to catch it,
wow,
um, right in front of the left fielder and my shortstop. And the second I turned and pivot to go after it, I said, "It's mine." And they were like, and they were all really like, what is this dude thinking? Like, he's not going to make this play. But I'm so confident in my abilities that I made the play. And I think that was the moment where the team was like, okay, he's one of us. He can do
yeah,
this.
you can
Um,
do it. Yeah,
and it came probably two plays before where I had an error. There was a ball I had to charge, and I went to plant off my left foot, and my left foot gave out on me, so I went down. So I was unable to make that play. So it's like they were probably thinking, like, man, this old guy can't do it. But I instantly was able to turn it into a play. Like, holy crap, he can do it.
yeah,
It really just speaks volumes on not only baseball, but like the mentality of being a baseball player is you can't worry about that last play because you're gonna miss the next play.
yeah,
I easily got down on myself and be like, Coach, I'm done, man. I can't do this. My legs can't hold me up. And taking myself out of the game, but I didn't. I took it personally, and I was like, I'm going to make the next play. So the second that ball was in a range that I could get to, it's my ball, and I went and made it my ball, and I made a play, and felt incredible. Like
that
it was,
yeah, that had to feel amazing. I would bet, right? And I bet that after that, even you just relaxed a little bit, right? Like you make a first like really nice play like that, and you're
yeah,
like,
it was the first time I took a like that sigh of like you just felt the weight
yeah,
off you. It's because you want to make a play the whole time, but you're waiting, especially after you make a mistake, you feel even more pressure. But
yeah,
everything I've been through, there's really no pressure greater than not knowing if you're going to wake up the next day.
yeah,
So like I'm so lucky to have experienced that, and it's created so much perspective for me to where I know everything in this life that I go through is really not that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things. So that error didn't really affect me. But at the same time, like you still get so elated when you do have those accomplishment moments. So it's like the highs are still really high, but the lows really aren't that bad because I've been way lower.
right. You have some perspective that a lot of other people don't have on truly like the highs and lows of life. I want to ask you too, what was it like at the plate? How tough is the pitching you're facing? How hard are these guys throwing?
Um, it's hard. JUCO, you see so much variety. You'll see a guy throwing 90 with no control, and then a guy throwing junk at 65, 75 that just he's locating well.
Yeah,
So you really just have to go up there and just be confident and trust yourself. And what I've learned over the years of training is I'm not necessarily a hitter. I'm an athlete with good hand-eye coordination. And I used to be so particular about trying to make my swing just perfect. That's not me. So what I learned is see it, get the barrel to it, and then run like hell.
yeah,
Like in that first hit, like so my first at bat, I hit a ground ball to second base, was able to move the runner to third, so and I got thrown out at first, but it's still like I was like, okay, mission
yeah,
accomplished. Put the ball in
yeah,
play. Um, and then my last at bat, there was a runner on second again, I believe, And I got up there. I was like, okay, like you're gonna just try to do the same thing here, something to second base. Obviously you want to try to elevate, you hit a line drive, but at the same time, put it in play. Watched first pitch, outside corner, strike one. I was like, all right. Next pitch, got the barrel to it, line drive over second base. Right fielder's playing short, so I was like, crap, like I gotta hustle because this dude might throw me out from right field. Really embarrassing. Was able to make it to first base, got my hit. Felt incredible.
Run score? Did the run score on that play?
No, he didn't score. I was
Yeah.
kind of,
That would have been
wasn't.
nice.
I
Yeah.
was like, oh, like you could have legged that out for me, but I
Yeah.
get it. I don't think he ended up scoring that in it either. But I mean, it is what it is. That's baseball. But standing on first base, like I was so shaky because I had all these goals. I was like, I just want to get a hit,
Yeah.
but I'm checking boxes day one,
Yeah.
and then so I easily could have just rode off into the sunset and be like, I accomplished my goal. I wanted to get a college hit. I wanted to make a play in a college baseball game. I did it. I'm done.
Yeah.
But
But
that's
no,
not.
but you're going forward with it, right?
Yeah, my new goal is to make the all academic team for the region. Pretty, pretty long stretch. More so on the academic side than the baseball side because I still have a lot of responsibilities as a father and a
Right.
business owner and as a transplant recipient. Like I have a lot of doctor's appointments. So to focus on schoolwork's a challenge. But I finished both classes in the fall, with A's. So now I have a full-time workload this semester, but I'm confident in my abilities to, learn and, get good grades. And if I can do that and I have a slightly above par baseball season, who's to say I can't make the all academic team? It's
Yeah.
all Americans a very far stretch. So I set realistic goals. My goal is to make all academic region this
Yeah.
year.
And what are you studying this time around?
Philosophy and psychology.
Wow.
I love philosophy. And I really want to be a sports psychologist. And I really think I can do it now, and I do it now without the letters behind my name. But if I want to garnish the respect and climb the ladder through the ranks in sports psychology, I got to learn to play the game and get these degrees and get these letters behind my name. But I think life has taught me enough to really guide athletes in a way they need, and it's more authentic and real. I cannot give you a textbook answer of what they need, but I can give you a real life answer. And I think in my eyes, that's far more valuable than saying a bunch of words that nobody understands.
Yeah. And what about your previous degree? What did you get that in?
General studies, like every other athlete. Just
Yeah.
I wasn't in school to learn at that time. I was in school to play sports.
You were in school to play sports. All right. And you were mainly there to play, you were playing basketball, right? So basketball always your main sport growing up?
No, I actually basketball fed my ego, and that's what dripped me. I lived in Florida, and when we moved to Maryland, I told my parents, "If you make me leave my friends in baseball in Florida, I'll never play baseball again." And I didn't.
Wow.
I started playing basketball, and I was pretty good at it, though, and I got so much attention for it, it inflated my ego. So that's what I did. I played basketball. I was far better at football and baseball, but with football and baseball, you couldn't just take over. Basketball, I could just be like, "Hey, guys, like, I'm gonna go ahead and make sure we win. Give me the basketball." And we had a really successful team and season. I got to play in college. So, but looking back, basketball was just because I was a selfish kid and I wanted the attention. So that's why I was pushed to basketball, and it was petty reasons to my parents love baseball and especially my dad. And I was like, if you make me leave, I won't do it anymore. And I didn't.
Wow.
So I didn't play competitive baseball for a long time.
So you essentially retired, like sort of over like a sort of like a spat with your parents, right? And you gave up your favorite sport. Is that what you're saying? Baseball was your favorite sport.
Yeah,
And so
14.
how many years did you not play baseball for?
So I tried out my senior year of high school and was going to make the team, but then I stopped going because my friends were like, "Hey, come play basketball," and I was like, "Ah, all right, I don't really care about baseball." So I went from 14 to 30 was the last time was a gap of competitive baseball for me.
Wow, 16 years. Amazing. And
Yeah.
then when at 30 you got back into it, what, in an adult league? Is that what happened?
Yeah, I started a adult team with me and a couple of my buddies because like all my friends played baseball through high school, and I went to all their games and I loved it. But I didn't play because I just was a basketball player, and that's what they saw me as. And I was like, I'm not going to do this. Like, this is hard. Like, why? Like, I ducked hard things. Baseball was hard. Basketball came easy to me. But then at 30, like, I was kind of sick of playing basketball. Like, I didn't love it. Like, I love baseball. My daughter and son played softball and baseball, so I was coaching it a lot, and I was playing it a lot with them, playing a ton of wiffle ball. And I was like, I miss it. So I was like, let's see what we can do. So I started playing in an adult league, organized a team. And then what's crazy is I started that in 2015. I practiced that whole year. Our first game was September 12th or September 19th, somewhere in there. But I didn't get to play because I was getting my transplant and my cancer
Oh
surgery.
my God.
My team started that game without a center fielder. Um,
They played with eight.
they played the first inning with eight because that's where I was supposed to be. It was pretty incredible. But then I got back. I actually I a year later I played in the on the team, and I played ever since. Then when I got sick again, I missed it. I missed the season, but then I went right back to it. So I've been playing ever since I turned 30, but I obviously missed it a good amount of games because of health reasons. But it didn't stop me from being in the game, even though I couldn't be in the game physically. I started learning it, started going to every coaching seminar, listening to things, reading books on sports psychology. Just really dove. Like, I don't have but anything. I dove all into baseball and learning the game and the ins and out. But yeah, it's just crazy how it all worked out. It's just but it's just like I just look at it as like God kind of had me go through what I went through to get me to where He needed me to go, and so I
Yeah.
regret nothing. Where I easily could just sit here and be like, oh, I should have did this, but I don't. I think I'm right where I need to be, and I couldn't be happier.
Yeah. So let's talk about, the health issues you faced. What it was cancer first? Is that the order of things? And what happened? How did you find out you had cancer? I mean, you were what, not even 30, right? Or maybe 29, 28 years old?
I just turned 30. I had a hernia. I needed a hernia repaired and my gallbladder removed June of 2015. When they did that surgery, they found swollen lymph nodes. Through a little bit more, research and stuff, they found that out that I had penile cancer,
Oh my
which is very
God.
rare in the United States. Very, very rare at 30. My doctor said he's done this surgery that I had on two other people under the age of 40, with those other two committing suicide because you lose a very important part of being a man. And he's like, Aaron, don't let this be you. Don't become the third. Thankfully, which is weird to say, I never really had to deal with the heartache of losing, having that partial penectomy and losing part of my penis because I had a liver transplant right after. So life became very real to me because I was about to lose all of me. So
Yeah.
my focus was never on just losing a part of me. So I'm so thankful for my transplant because I didn't have to deal with the depression and the negative side of penile cancer because I was fighting for my life 2 weeks later.
Wow.
It's pretty wild.
So you had the cancer and then because the issue came up with your liver, that like prevented them from doing the operation that would have removed your penis. Is that what you're saying?
Oh no, they went ahead and lopped that thing off.
Oh, they did.
Yeah, I had the cancer surgery.
Oh my God.
I had the cancer surgery September 1st. Found out I was cancer free on September 11th. Got really sick that weekend and had my transplant on September 17th. I was on the transplant list for 10 hours. And so the University of Maryland is one of the few hospitals that has a Mars machine, which does this liver function. I think there was five in the country at the time. There was a person on that Mars machine, but he was an addict. So my life got prioritized over his because I wasn't an addict. So this guy got taken off the machine. His life passed, like he passed, for me. And then there was a guy downstairs who he was on life support. He wasn't going to survive, but his family wasn't done grieving yet. The doctors went down and talked to him and said, there's a kid upstairs who needs your son's liver. He's signed up to be a donor. So no matter what happens, no matter what you guys do with this choice, your son's organs are going to be harvested for transplant. But if you let him pass now, we can save this kid upstairs. So they had to hurry their grieving process for me to live. They decided to. So I ended up getting the liver transplant, which also was rare because my urologist had to fight for me because when you have cancer, you have to be proven cancer free for a year to be eligible for a transplant. But my
Wow.
urologist was like, no, this kid's young. He's in good shape. He will survive this. Give him the liver. They decided to. They did the surgery. I actually have the audio for this, and the doctor came out and like, listen, he's still really sick. He's probably not going to survive this, but it's in. We'll see what happens. And here I am 10 years later. But it was a lot to deal with knowing that, two people had to pass for me to live. Um, so that it's a lot, but I've learned to look at it as a positive, and that's why I try to live my life so much for other people, is because other people had to lose their lives for me to have a life. And it's truly a blessing.
Yeah. That also is an incredible amount to have to go through in such a short amount of time, right? You said September 1st, you had the cancer surgery. 10 days later, you're cancer free, and then right after that, you had to have the liver.
Yeah, I
And
got
was the
septic.
liver was the liver failure due to some complication with the cancer? How'd that come about, or is that just it just happened coincidentally?
Coincidentally, completely unrelated. They said the way they explained it was like buying a brand new car with a bad transmission. To this day, they still don't know why my liver failed. But
Wow.
it did. They took the liver out, and they just didn't understand why it stopped working.
Jeez.
But it's just I don't know. I got no answers other than God wanted me to go through things so I could learn to appreciate things, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. Now, you had a second liver transplant because I guess your body didn't fully um, assimilate that first liver. Is that what happened?
So the first liver wasn't a perfect match. It was good enough. They
Yeah.
essentially said you might get 5 years out of this, and I did get 5 years out of it.
Wow.
So they knew I was going to need another one, but they just didn't know when. But I started getting really sick in 2018. And by 2020 is when I had my second transplant, and I got really lucky in that. I actually was one of the few people to receive a Hep C positive liver. But because Hep C is fully treatable now, I had to sign a bunch of paperwork to say I'll take this Hep C liver, risk getting Hep C, and then treat it, accordingly because it would give me life again. So I did it. I got the Hep C positive liver, took a ton of medication, but my body never contracted Hep C, which is truly a blessing because that would just been a whole nother battle. Um, but I'm just so lucky.
Yeah. But you were prepared to get Hep C to come down with it to extend your life, and you're like, I'll fight that off. Then that was sort of
Yeah, they give me Hep C. If I got to live with Hep C, I'll live with Hep C. It beats the alternative.
wow. I have to say, you have a strong will to live. I don't know that a lot of people would maintain a will to live through that, you know? Maybe,
Uh,
maybe not. I don't know, but that strikes me as you really wanted to not die. You wanted to live a life, right?
yeah, I never really thought of like this is the first time I really thought about it. I always say, people like anyone would do what I did given the circumstances. Just I was the one chosen, but I really do love living. I never once thought through all this that I was ever going to die. But if you ask anyone in my life, they all thought I was going to die. But there's times I wanted to die, but I never thought I was going to. So it's really hard to think about it. But yeah, I guess I just really love living. But I
Yeah.
think we all should, man. It's we're so blessed for life, and we just lose sight of it. But like,
Yeah.
I wake up every day just excited.
I mean, I bet. And I wonder too. I mean, you definitely love living. I can tell that just talking to you. You have a strong will to live. I can't imagine. I think a lot of people, I don't know. I think some people faced with that might just give up mentally, or maybe not decide to go through. Like I'm like it just kind of shocks me that you were like ready to take on Hep C, knowing like, okay, this I'll get this, but I've got then another battle coming. And fortunately, that didn't come for you, but that was a very real possibility. I think some people might not be able to do that. They might just not have the constitution to do that.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. Like it never once crossed my mind to say no to that.
Yeah,
Because why? Like I don't know. I just it's like maybe it's just instilled in me. But
yeah.
why?
I
If you
want,
have to live, you live.
yeah. I wonder too. Are you afraid to die at all? Is any of it like a fear of dying or a fear of like missing out on life?
You know what's crazy? When I was young, I used to wrap up my toys because I always thought I was going to die right before Christmas. So I'd wrap up toys and just to open them. just in case I missed out on Christmas, I wanted to experience Christmas.
Yeah.
I think I used to be petrified of death, younger, but now I've understood, like through my experiences, especially the outer body experiences, I don't fear death at all. Not to say that I welcome it, like I don't want to die, but I also believe there's a lot of life to be lived after the life that we are here. And I've seen that with the out of body experiences that I've had. Um, so I don't even think death is a thing. I think it's just a different dimension of life, I guess.
Hmm.
Um, but I think we're eternal if we learn to live the right way.
That's interesting. Let's talk about the out of body experiences. You had these, I guess, at some of your sort of your lowest points or most your maybe closest points to death, to actually dying. Is that what was happening?
Yeah, during my second transplant, the most like I had a few, but the most vivid is a time um where I perceive I went to heaven. My niece was there who passed young, and who I perceived to be God. And my niece told me that she's okay. And but the only thing that was bothering her was the way my sister was living her life. My sister was severely depressed. I mean, she lost a kid. That's not supposed to happen.
Yeah.
And she told me to just call my sister and let her know that she's okay and they'll be together again someday and just start living in a more positive light. And then with God, he's like, Aaron, you can come home now. You've done a lot of good and you're welcome here, but I'm not done with you yet. So I was like, you know what? Let's go back. And I remember waking up. I called my sister, told her what my niece Jasmine told me. And then the idea popped in my head for my nonprofit, Pops Culture, and I just started writing, and thinking and planning. And I had a few more setbacks and snag ups and out experiences, like, but it was never a negative. It was always just brought me closer to who I needed to be and my purpose. And since then, I haven't struggled with depression or anxiety at all. After my first transplant, I struggled with them both. I mean, I was heavily medicated because of them for a little while. But since those out of body experiences, like it's just my life is just so incredible. Even when it's bad, it's just still good. Um, so I've been truly blessed, and I really truly believe to my soul, I'm here not to for myself, but to serve other people, to serve God. Essentially, like in my Instagram profile, the first thing it says is, an employee for God. And I'm not a big believer in religion. I grew up very Catholic. But my faith is stronger than it's ever been because of my experiences. And whether you believe it or not, it's not for me to decide. I believe it and it
Yeah.
helps me. So
Yeah.
that's what I do.
Was your faith strong prior to that out of body experience, or was it?
I think it was just more so there. I didn't practice anything.
Yeah.
I didn't preach anything. I didn't share my story. I just kind of was existing and just coasting through life, you know, with no kind of sense of direction or anything, just kind of like a cog in the wheel, so to speak. But since then, like I live by faith. I mention it daily. It's anytime someone asks me about my story or talks to me about anything, it all reverts back to some way I start talking about God. Um, so I guess that's kind of the point of what I went through is like I live by my faith now to where it's always been in me. It's just been dormant.
Yeah. And do you feel like when you had that experience, do you feel like God was sort of giving you a choice to die or to go back and live again? Like, is that sort? Because it sounded like that's what you were saying. Like he almost gave you a choice and you just chose life.
Yeah, absolutely. He gave me an option. He said, "Come to heaven
Yeah.
and and live here in eternal peace, or go back to earth and fight like hell to fulfill your purpose." And clearly, like you said, I'm a fighter.
Yeah.
So here I am.
Yeah. And in that moment, did you feel like something otherworldly? Like, did you feel like like you left behind the earth a little bit to some
Oh
degree?
yeah, I was not in a physical form at all. The most calm, peaceful feeling ever. And it's more so the second time that I can remember happening was at a O's game, and that's when I felt the most at peace. I was in and out of consciousness at the O's game. I actually ended up leaving in an ambulance. And I kept, I had to confess all my sins as I'm in and out of consciousness. But every time I got really close to getting through to the light, I heard my girlfriend's voice saying my name, waking me up, and I'd wake up and I'd be like, "Whoa! Like I just died! Like I was there."
Hmm.
And that probably happened 5 or 6 times. And but I've never felt more calm and at peace than in those moments. And it was the most incredible feeling ever to be that, just relaxed. So it is so real, and a lot of people that were with me didn't really believe it. They was kind of like to the point they were kind of just annoyed with me because I'm laying there in the outfield in a really good seat, in and out of consciousness, and they weren't willing to understand why. They were more so judging me based on what they saw, and to them I looked like just a drug addict nodding out, but I wasn't on drugs. I don't do drugs. I mean, I have my medical marijuana card because it helps me sleep, but I don't even do that anymore.
Yeah.
Um, but it's not, I'm not here to get people to believe my story. I'm simply here to share my story. And if you believe me, you believe me. If you don't, you don't. That's on you. So that experience at the O's game was probably the where I really got to feel it the most because it was in and out of consciousness in a more um just real life um
Right. You were not in
environment.
the
Not
hospital, right? You
yeah.
weren't in a medical setting. Yeah.
I was out and about, surrounded by 40,000 people, and still got to experience the power of God. And He showed me so many different things, and He showed me my life. If I don't give up baseball, He showed me what my life was going to be if I continue to pursue what I am with Pop's culture. I
Hmm.
had so many visions in that moment, and it was just so like satisfying and freeing because it just showed me that I'm on the right path, and my free will kind of directed me away from baseball and my path, but my willingness to surrender myself to God brought me back to baseball and back on the course to God.
Wow. That is an amazing story. I'm wondering if you can tell people, you said you have no fear of dying now, but is that partly because of this experience, because of how you felt in that moment? You talked about a very calm and peaceful feeling that came over you. Like, can you tell people, like, is death something to be afraid of or not?
I don't think it is, but I understand why it is to so many people because we only see what we can see with our own two eyes, and that's in this physical form and world. I mean, our earthly views, really. It's hard to, disassociate ourselves from the physical and really focus on the spiritual. So I get why death is feared because you're going to lose everything that you see, and we're limited to what we see with our own two eyes. But there's so much more out there than what we perceive life to be. So to anyone who's struggling with it, I just really hope you understand that like there's so much more to life than what you see. But it just comes from really looking inward and understanding that how powerless we are in so many situations. And once you understand that we are really powerless in this, you really understand how powerful you are.
Yeah. Now, you talked about organ donation and how organ donors have saved your life. Were you always an advocate of organ donation, or did this sort of come to you after your experiences?
So when I got my driver's license, I wanted the heart on my license, didn't know what it meant, but I was like, yeah, I'll be a donor. Don't know what it means, but the heart looks cool.
Yeah.
Um, when my niece passed, who I saw in heaven, my sister in that moment of her passing came to me and said like she didn't know what to do. And she asked me if Jasmine should be a donor, and I was like, absolutely. Like she was autistic, but she was so loving and kind, and it's hard not to get emotional when I talk about her because
Yeah.
my sister had her when I was 13 years old, and my sister was 15. Or no, my sister was no, she was 15, and I was 10.
Hmm.
But I was the one who really helped play a part in helping raise Jasmine because my sister needed to finish high school, and I was a good student, and I could miss school more than my sister could. So I spent a lot of time with Jasmine, and as like she was like my little baby sister. And we grew so close. But making the decision for her to become a donor, it's what she would want it because Jasmine would give anything to anyone at any time. And even with her, you know, I guess, limitations with being autistic, her heart was unlimited. And if anyone who got a chance to meet her just saw how loving and kind and full of life she was, so why wouldn't you want to fill someone else's life up with a piece of jasmine? Is what I thought, and that's when organ donation came into my life. Is when I made that decision for her, and then 7 years later, I needed life for myself, and it just really became full circle because I made that decision for Jasmine to be a donor, and then I needed a donor, and it just really like organ donation is was nothing to me other than a heart on my license
Yeah.
until my knees back, and but then it became something that saved my life.
Yeah.
Years later.
How old was Jasmine when she died?
16.
16. Wow. It's sorry to hear that. That is sad.
It was tough, but knowing her and seeing how much she struggled in life, and then seeing her, you know, in heaven, like it's God needed her. She's
Yeah.
right where she needs to be. And
Yeah.
the time that we have here doesn't exist there. And I know she's waiting there for me and for everyone with a smile on her face and her Pokemon card. So it's tough to not have her, but I see her every day in the way life, you know, unfolds and she's with me every day. So
Yeah. When
it's
you
not.
saw her, though, I thought you had written about seeing her as though she had aged, continued to age, though, right? Like, so you saw her maybe as like a 23-year-old or
Yeah,
22-year-old.
she appeared to be 23, a little more mature,
Yeah.
uh, which is weird because like I don't know how I could see that. And if you look like in I don't know if there is age appropriation in
Right.
that realm for real. Like, why is she not like if you think about from a Peter Pan standpoint,
Yeah.
she still should have been that kid, but she wasn't. But to me, that's I guess it was more so like it's who I needed her to be for me at that time was just the happy, peaceful age. Like I was 30 and she was, 23 because that's where we were in life at that time.
Yeah.
But again, who we don't know anything what goes on in that world, and like, we don't really know if any of that was real, but it was real to me. And I was 30 and Jazzy was 23, and we were happy together for that moment. And
Yeah.
I'm what I hold on to.
That's a powerful moment. As far as organ donation goes, I have to tell you, like, I can, I can recognize how important it is, but I fear being an organ donor. Like, I am not one. I'll admit that to you. I am not an organ donor on my license, right? So I'm wondering, what do you say to people to, convince them or get them to overcome any fear? Because I'll tell you straight up, like, my fear is that you hear about these cases where somebody wakes up at their own funeral in a casket, and like everyone thinks they're dead, but they're not actually dead, And so I'm like worried that like I might get into a situation like that and then they take the organ and then I am actually dead because they took the organ. But so like what do you say to people? Like, do you ever hear that from other people who are like, don't want to be an organ donor or fear doing it?
Yeah, quite a bit. And they also hear the whole thing when you get in an accident and they get your license and say, "Oh, he's a donor, like let him pass." I just say it's ultimately your choice. One way or another, we're all gonna die. It is the harsh reality of this world.
Yeah.
Um, but if you have an opportunity to for a part of you to live on, why not? Because you're able to give someone else life. Um, the doc in those emergency situations, they're not going to pull your license out and ever look to your license like, oh, he's a donor. Let's go ahead and let him go so we can get this guy a liver. It would never be that. There's no religious reasons why you can't be. Your reasoning for essentially being like you're not done yet, but they let you go sooner than you need to harvest your organs. That's a little tougher because who knows? Like that can happen, I guess.
Yeah.
I think if you decide to ever do it, it's ultimately up to you. I would not judge you or think any more or less of you as a person because it's your choice. And I think you're free to make the choice as you want. So yeah, I'm not going to push you towards it. I'm not going to push you from it. I can only say that it's given me life, and I've reached out to both of my donors. I've heard back from one family, and the mother just said she wasn't ready to talk or meet me, but she was very thankful for the letter that I wrote, and she wished me the best. A couple years ago, she actually sent me a Christmas card.
Hmm.
The other family I haven't heard from at all. And at the same time, it's not my place to worry about, what they're dealing with or what they're going through until they're willing to let me in. So it ultimately it's your choice. It's a beautiful thing, but at the same time, it doesn't make you more or less of a human being for not wanting to do it. Like it's your free will,
Yeah.
your choice.
Interesting, Aaron. Yeah. You seem to have so much wisdom from everything you've been through, I guess. Um, so one thing with your life as somebody who's had a transplant, you ended up in 2017 going to be part of Team USA, the Team USA basketball team at the World Transplant Games, which I have to tell you, I wasn't actually even aware of that something like that was going on. But you went over there with that team back to playing basketball, which tell me about that. That must have been interesting. I don't know, had it been a while since you played some basketball? And
Yeah, I kind of thought my athletics were over after my transplant because I was 120 pounds and like just didn't think I'd ever get back to it.
yeah,
Found out about the transplant games and I was like, thank you, because now I have something to work towards. I wanted to go to the U.S. games in Cleveland that year, but I needed to be 6 months since my transplant. The games were only 5 months out, so I was a little frustrated with that. But that allowed me more time to get in shape for the World Games in Spain. And it was the most incredible experience of my life because I was with 3,000 other transplant recipients and also families. And then being in Spain, like they really treated me like I was a rock star because I got back to pretty good shape. Like I was really good at basketball and doing things that transplant patients didn't usually do. Like I could dunk, I could shoot. I mean, I was pretty good.
you were
So,
dunking
yeah.
after a transplant. My God, that's amazing.
The highlight of it all was after we won the gold medal, I tell us like we were like the dream team because we played in Spain and we won every game by 30. They literally couldn't like there was nothing they could do with us,
Yeah,
which was awesome because even the teams we were playing against were like treating me like I was Michael Jordan. Like they didn't mind me beating them by 30.
yeah,
It was such a weird experience, but after the game, all these kids like rushed me. And they wanted my jersey, and like I wanted to keep my jersey because I mean, it said Team USA.
right.
It's so special to me. But like, how do you say no to a kid who's treating you that way? So I took my jersey off and gave it to him.
Wow.
And it was just the most. It was such a like. It just really felt like it validated me as an athlete. And whether it's for my ego or not, it just felt so good to go through what I went through and then have that high of like, being Michael Jordan to someone. It was so surreal. And I'm so glad I was able to go and I was able to compete and meet people and it was one of the greatest achievements I think I'll ever get athletically. And though some people try to mock it and say, "Oh, you played in the Special Olympics,"
Oh
what
no, that's ridiculous.
I
Yeah,
think that's more so says about them, like like giving everything that I went through to compete
yeah,
at that level. Um, I'm limited to what I have. Like I couldn't
sure.
play for like the regular Olympics, but I was presented with an opportunity for transplant Olympics.
Yeah,
And I had to work my butt off to get back to what I was doing in them. And I was dunking. I won multiple medals. Like I think I left Spain with like 9 or 10 medals.
right. You were competing in other sports too, not just basketball.
Yeah, I did track. I wanted to do volleyball, but after basketball, my body was so cooked I couldn't get out of bed. I literally laid in bed the next day and with no lights on because I was so swollen and my legs just wouldn't move. They were just
Wow.
seized up with cramps. So I just laid there, debating on calling to go to the hospital or not. But I was like, listen, if I get to go to the hospital in Spain, like this is like I'm going to be stuck here for a while. I'm going to
Yeah.
miss life. Like so, I just kind of chilled and was able to get back. But I left everything that I had on that court. So anyone who tried to discredit or invalidate it, like I just was like, whatever, bro. Like that's on you. Like you're not
Yeah,
going to steal my shine.
I mean that's ridiculous. And the fact that you were able to come back pretty as quickly as you did. Like you talked that was around 2015, right? That you had the first transplant and obviously you had the cancer. Um but by 2017, you're back in basketball shape. And you said you were down to 120 pounds. And I've seen you post photos and videos on social media. And I have to say, you did not look like you were doing well in that moment. I mean, yeah, like just to be straight about it, like you looked like you were in rough shape. Now, 120 pounds, like what was your normal weight? Like what's your playing weight, let's say?
Before I got sick, I was 220
Oh
and a
my
very
God.
strong and healthy 220.
Oh my God. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's I needed to be that so I could, go through what I went through. Now I'm like 170 and I feel like I just can't put on weight, which is very rare in the transplant world. My goal just before I got sick in December, I was pushing 185 and it
Wow.
was really trending in a good direction. My goal is to get back to 200 and a very healthy athletic 200, but seems like every time I get close to 190, I get knocked back down. So I think now it's like, the goal should be 185 might be where I need to be.
Yeah. How tall are
But
you?
about 6'4".
6'4". Oh wow.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm a fairly good sized human being.
Yeah, yeah. But just the fact that you were able to do that and turn it around, and I guess at that point, and you were what? You were in your early 30s at that point, right? So that's
Yeah, yep,
even then
31.
as an athlete, like I mean, that's old for an athlete, right? For like a high level athlete, I mean, these days, I guess some of these guys are playing into their 40s, but that's not really the norm. So you're trying to do things with like you're battling time in addition to all the other stuff you had going on.
Even without transplant, there wasn't too many 32, 33-year-old guys in my area still dunking with these. Like I could drop step two hands dunk
Wow,
pretty.
that's awesome. Can you still
Which
dunk? Can you do it now?
uh,
Or?
yeah, with the neuropathy, I got about a Tom Brady vertical right now.
Yeah.
But that's my goal. It's like if so, they have the games are in Germany this year. If I can get myself back to being explosive again by April, not necessarily dunking, but just like finishing near the rim, I'll go play again. But because I can't not be me, and if I can't play explosively, I feel like I'm not playing to my best of ability. But at the same time, maybe I should be a little more realistic and understand I'm 40.
Yeah.
Um, and there's a lot more to basketball than dunking. Um, I can actually, I'm a pretty good shooter, because that's for a while, that's all I could do.
Yeah.
Um, so I might still go, but I also like, I just don't feel like I have anything left to prove
Yeah.
athletically other than playing because I love it. And I don't love basketball the way I love baseball. So if the transplant games is going to take away some of baseball from me, I probably won't go for like, I just love baseball too much
Yeah.
to miss like if I had a single game versus a week in Germany to compete in multiple sports, I'm going to play my single baseball game.
Well, it's amazing that, you're still competent in at least two sports, right? I think that's hard to do as you get older. It's hard to do it all, but certainly hard to do as you get older. And then on top of that, you had everything you went through. You've talked about it a couple times here, and that is your nonprofit that you founded, Pops Culture. Let's talk about that a little bit. The name, where did the name come from, and what does it mean?
Uh, so it's a play on father figure. I was trying to think of because I want to mentor, I want to help athletes, I want to help anyone really. So what better way for a mentorship than be that father figure for everyone. Father figure is not nearly as catchy as Pops culture, so that's what we're creating a fatherhood culture. So that's where Pops culture was born. Just
Yeah.
got lucky with coming up with a creative name for it.
Yeah, it is a cool name. And talk about that. I mean, you're a father yourself. You have two kids. Obviously, they've gone through along with you all that you've gone through. I guess you have an eighth grade son, right, who also plays baseball.
Yep. Yeah, they're all very much involved in everything, and I think that's part of it was like how hard it was on for them because I mean they watched me lay on the couch dying, and with my oldest daughter, she she really separated herself because she was older, and it was hard for her to see. So it really hurt our relationship, but we're pretty tight now. We've rebuilt, but it was I think it was harder on them than it was me. And like me and my son are very close. Well, me and like we're all very close now, but it's just I think it's because we realize how precious this life is. Um, so as hard as it was, it's probably the best thing that could have happened to us because it's really formed a strong bond that really, no matter how much we argue, no matter how much they get annoyed with me, I'm not the nicest dad in the world, but I like to think I'm the realist.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I
I'm
mean,
not,
as a dad, you can't always be nice, right? That's not
I'm
your
not
job.
interested in being their friend.
Yeah.
I tell them all the time, I was like, listen, like I can be friendly, but I won't be your friend because friends don't always tell you what you need to hear. And like my goal for you guys is to be really just good human beings.
Yeah.
I don't care about how good you are at your sport. I don't care. Like I don't ever really get on them about physical anything. It's more so the character stuff. I will yank you out of the dugout real quick if you slam your equipment or act like a little spoiled entitled brat. Because at the end of the day, no matter how far they go in any sport, it's going to end eventually, and they're going to have to be a functioning member of society. And like we're going to be good people if I have any say in it. And that's translated over to all the kids that I mentor. Is like we use sports as a tool to teach life, and so
Yeah.
that's what pop culture has become. But at the same time, I have kids that play the cello. I have kids that don't play any sports. They just want to play video games. What pop culture has become is I don't consider myself any other coach besides a confidence coach, and I think that's what young people, adults too, struggle so much with just believing in themselves. And so I really try to do a good job of just being real with everyone, but in a way to help them build confidence and be strong within, and learning to, work together, even though you have disagreements, is like we all need to coexist because we're so much more strong together. And like our world has found so many ways to divide us, but we don't have to, we're not looking to society's norms. We lead with love, and even if you disagree with someone, you don't put any hate in your heart. You just kind of reset the boundary and you love them from a distance. And that may be never talking to or seeing them again, but don't hold on to any hate because that's just going to consume you.
I was kind of struck by the name too, pops culture. It sort of evokes like fatherhood, sort of the importance of fatherhood. And I guess I'm wondering, you know, do you see your dad as an influence in that? Do you in just in your own life and your approach to things? And do you think like at this time in like in America, like do we need dads? Like are dads important?
Yeah, we do. And we have this weird thing going around about toxic masculinity, and I think that's weird because we need men. We need men to be men, but we need men to be vulnerable and show the compassionate side of being a man. And my dad, like, so I was adopted. So my dad, he was incredible. He worked hard. He worked his butt off to make sure that we had enough. We didn't have a lot, but we always had food in our bellies and a roof over our head. But as you get older, like you start unpacking some things, and like, so the reason why I was even given up for adoption is because my biological mother had two kids before me that were, with a white male. But obviously my biological dad being black, she had to give me up for adoption because I was biracial. And I was adopted to an all-white family. So that created a lot of struggles, but they love me anyway. But I also think that's a big part of pop's cultures, and that's what my family, my adopted parents, who are my parents, has taught me is like you don't judge, you just love. And like by finding these things out about my past and understanding, like I was given up for adoption for something beyond my control, just because I was biracial. Like I couldn't like, so I never really felt like I belonged or fit in. But that's also why I do pops, is because I want to make sure no person never feels the way I felt. Because when you grow up black in an all white community, an all white family, the world we live in is very judgmental. So I was always judged. I was always looked at differently, and I was treated differently in many occasions, but my parents always loved me through it. So that's what I try to get with pops is like we're all one. Just because I look different, you doesn't make me any less or more of a human being. It's like, so I never want anyone to not feel like they don't fit in because it sucks. Like it's so
Mm.
hard to just not feel like you're welcomed anywhere. And I spent a lot of my life living to where I just never felt like truly welcomed. Um, but it's made me stronger because I don't really value anybody's opinion of me very highly because I know what I'm about. I stand firmly on my principles. Um, and because of that, I'm able to do what I do and bring people together really because we all belong. That's why
Yeah.
we're here.
Are your parents still alive?
Yes, sir. Yep.
I mean, I would imagine they've got to be very proud of you.
Honestly, we don't talk as often as we should, but I do believe they are, but they don't really communicate it
Hmm.
that much. But they also had a tough go. I mean, my brother and sister, put them through a lot. And I was a pretty easy kid to raise because I just wanted to play sports and video games.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I've ever heard them tell me they were proud of me, but I know they are. It's just we don't come from a family that really communicates well.
Okay.
Um, a lot like my mom is still holding on to a lot of things from her past that makes her kind of angry and spiteful. And my dad's kind of just like the type who's just gonna work. But it
Yes.
does. I know they love me. I know they're proud of me. But I'd be lying if I didn't say that it'd be nice to hear it sometimes. But I also
Right.
know it's okay if I don't because I know who I am and I'm very
Right.
confident and proud of who I am. And they played a big part of making that. So I'm appreciative of them and I thank them.
I would imagine they have to be. I mean, even if they're not, even if articulating it isn't, their strong suit, and they come from a slightly older generation. I feel like older generations were not as good at expressing their emotions as like we are today. It was even not even like me, even like at my age, I'm not the best at it, but I would say like as time goes on and the younger generations, I feel like express their emotions a lot more freely and easily.
Oh, absolutely. I tell people all the time, like my age group, we're like the last of the suck it up generation.
Yeah.
Where because we just don't communicate well. We don't express our emotions well, but we weren't taught to. We're
Right.
so boys don't cry. And I think that's where we're kind of screwed up at. But with these kids, it's so much more important because they do cry a lot. Sometimes they cry too much, but I also think the reason why the word is emotion is because it's meant to be moved. There's motion in them. And if we don't deal with them, if we don't move our emotions, they'll consume us. And like you said, each generation is progressively getting more emotionally aware and emotionally intelligent. And my dad and mom are old, like they're pushing their 80s, like
Yeah.
they're up there. So they really are that generation of you don't express your emotions, you just deal with things and you keep it packed away. And I don't believe that. I express my emotions very freely. I'll cry, I'll laugh, and I tell people all the time, like you can laugh at me for crying, but I'll punch you right in your mouth. Because it's don't take my vulnerability for weakness because my vulnerability is what gives me strength.
Listen, this has been such a fascinating conversation, Aaron. You're really an amazing person, honestly. I mean, all you've been through, but you just seem to have a tremendous perspective on life. I feel like people should listen to you. And
Me too.
hopefully all the kids that you mentor listen to you, and I'm sure your teammates on the baseball team will. I want to go back to baseball for a second, though. Where do you see this going? I feel like as people learn about what you're up to, a lot of guys in my age group or around you, even your age group, I think are going to be taking note of this because I feel like you're going to inspire a lot of people. I told you I still play. I play in a 35 and up league. It's a wood bat league. There's a bunch of guys I guarantee who, when they hear about you, are going to be like, that is awesome. I want to do that. I want to be that. And so I think they're just going to be watching you and to see where you end up, with all this. So what do you think? Like you're going to play at least this season, you're going to play a couple years there, and then what?
Um, I live it kind of day by day, season by season. What I would like to do, if it all goes to plan, um, I want to play this year. I don't know if I'll play moving forward because my son's going to be going into high school and I don't really want to miss a lot of his stuff.
Right.
But if I can coordinate it, I would love to play this year, play next year. There's Lincoln University is right up the road from me, which is a D2 program that has my major. I think it'd be incredible to go play for HBCU at 44, 43, wherever I may be, 10 minutes up the road, and then pursue finishing my degree, getting my master's and, getting those letters behind my name. But a big part of it is it's going to dictate is how demanding my kid's schedule gets because I spent a lot of my time, especially with my oldest daughter, focusing on me and my sports. my window of opportunity is not nearly as open as theirs. And it's more important to me to be a father than a baseball player. But I'm gonna get through this season, see where we're at next year, and make my moves according to where they are. If he decides he doesn't want to play that seriously in high school or anything, then I will continue to pursue my baseball because why not? I will always at least play in my rec leagues because they're Sunday mornings, and
Yes.
on Sunday mornings nobody gets out of bed in my house before 8 a.m. and I'm usually home before they start even waking up.
So you
So
play. All right. So you're so in addition, you're playing in the. You're it's kind of the same thing I am, right? It was it 35 and up? Or are you playing 30 and
I
up? What do
do a
you?
30 and older wooden bat league on
Yeah.
Sundays.
Yeah. Wood bat league. I mean, how fun is that? Is that great?
It's my favorite, and it's really I love being in the dugout with the guys.
Yeah.
It's just fun. Like I think that's what a lot of men miss, especially men who are big into sports, is we miss the camaraderie.
Yes.
And that's a big reason why I do what I do is because I want to inspire other people to just, don't feel like you have to just be in that rat race and the routine. Like I asked a lot of the peers that, the parents of my nonprofit, I asked them, I was like, who do you identify as without your job and as a father? And there's so many men my age that have no sense of self. They don't do anything for themselves anymore. And I think that's where a lot of depression and anxiety and stress comes from is we stop doing things for ourselves. And what I've learned is that the more I do for me, the more I can do for others. So that's a big part of this journey is, trying to inspire other people to take 3 hours a week to go do something you love. And even if that's you can't physically play, get into photography, take pictures of playing, join the team and keep the book, be a third
Yeah.
base coach.
Yeah.
There's so many ways to be a part of the games and the sports we love and that we feel like we lost without physically playing the game. It's biblical. Remain childlike. Do things that make you feel like you're 12 because it's going to help you be a better man. And it's also, especially if you have kids, it's going to help you reconnect and connect with your kids because we oftentimes forget what it's like to be a kid. But if you're doing things that remind you what it's like to be a kid, it's a lot easier to put yourself in their shoes and be empathetic to them and then help guide them through the process of growing into adulthood. We've walked through fire, so we don't have to have our kids walk through fire. We can be that stepping stone that protects them from the fire if we're willing to remember what it's like to be where they are.
Those are such wise words, Aaron. Um, Listen, I know you got to get to practice soon, so I want to give you time to be able to get there. I don't want to make you late for practice, but real quick, social media. Where you're on Facebook, Twitter is where I saw. That's I just found. I came across you on Twitter.
Yeah, so it's Coach Aaron R on just about every platform. Facebook's where I post the most. It's probably like my most personal one. I try to write every morning, just something that's like for me, but then I share it with the world because maybe it'll help someone. I'm gonna try to get really better at using Twitter to the kind of my journey through this baseball thing because like there seems to be a lot of people interested. But so Coach Aaron R on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok while we got it, Facebook if you search Aaron Rouselle, there's not many Aaron Roussels out there, so I'm easy to find. And my messages, my DMs are always open. I'm not that popular to where I won't see anything. And I love connecting with people. I think that's what makes us so special is our ability to connect on an emotional level. So if anyone ever wants to reach out to me, like I'm here for it. I love talking and meeting new people. And if anyone wants to reach out, if they want to listen to my nonsense and speeches, I'm about it. I think the people in my life daily are sick of listening to me. So I'd love to just, get some fresh ears.
Listen, I loved listening to you while we talked here almost for an hour and a half. It was great. And I thank you again for coming on too, because I know you're battling a little bit of pneumonia as well. So, I hope you recover from that quickly and it doesn't affect your training for the season. Because as you told me, it starts in late February. That is crazy to me.
Yeah, we're in it. It's
Yeah.
I really want to thank you for the opportunity. I share my story very openly. But your audience is not my audience. So I appreciate the opportunity to share it with a new audience because I truly do believe I have something very special and inspiring that God has left me here to share with the world. So thank you for the opportunity.
Absolutely. It was great talking to you. And honestly, I really feel like your life could, there could be a movie made about your life. It's been the ups and downs, and it's inspiring. So it was great talking to you. Thanks for coming on, Aaron. Really.
Truly blessed for the
And
opportunity.
and
I
hey,
think,
best of luck this season. I cannot wait to follow you and watch and see how the season goes, and hopefully see you get some big hits and make some plays.
that's the goal. And then you being a Phillies fan, let me know if you're ending up any games. I'd love to meet you in real life and meet you at the ballpark.
Yeah, I will. I will. All right. Thanks again for coming on, Aaron.
Yes, sir. Thank you. You have a very good day. I'll talk to you soon.